Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Saloni Nangia, and I work with Technopack, which is a management consulting firm. We focused on consumer, retail, food, fashion, and sustainability. And retail and e-commerce is something that we've been tracking for many years, and very happy to present some of our insights as a precursor to a conference which promises to be very interesting. So I'd like to thank Amitabh, Bhavesh, and ICS team for inviting Technopack and me to share this. So let's start with the presentation. And like any good consulting firm, we need to have some numbers to start with, and that is what we would be sharing. So for the first time in n number of years, at least 30 years at Technopack that we've been tracking retail consumption, it's the first time that consumption in India has contracted over the last uh, two, or I'd say 1.5 years because of COVID. And if you see the numbers, financial year 2019, $735 billion of retail consumption. 2020 was about 822, but 2021 saw a decline of about 9%, which is a very, very dramatic decrease. And of course, a lot of businesses and companies have got impacted by that. We will see, if everything remains fine, the sentiment changing again. And we do think we would reach the financial year 2020 numbers by 22. It could be, a couple of, 50 or 100 billion here or there. But yes, um, the fact is that it's a zero sum game as far as retailers and consumption is concerned over the last 2 years. But what really helped these times was its e-commerce, which is witnessed an unprecedented growth. Of course, it was value and convenience, and something that was required during COVID times. But the fact is that e-commerce grew by 50%, over the previous year. So from about $30 billion of e-commerce in financial year 2020, it's become, we think it will close at about 45 to 48 billion in this financial year. That itself is a dramatic increase, but it has enabled e-commerce in multiple ways. There are many, many new consumers, first-time consumers who have experienced digital commerce, as well as the fact that new product categories, people had never tried, they shopped on it, they shopped for it online, and they were introduced to those categories. The biggest being food and grocery. If you just see the numbers, in financial year 20, it was about e-commerce was only 0.2% of the total food and grocery market, and it became about six times at about 1.3. That's a huge jump that we would have anticipated would have happened over 5 to 6 years. And so the acceleration of acceptance of e-commerce is one of the biggest game changers that the last 18 months have brought for us. Plus the fact, and that's very, very strongly supported by the fact that the Indian consumer, by force, has became digital first and an internet habitual consumer. Just some of the numbers of digital transactions that have taken place show that how the Indian consumer is becoming more comfortable with digital. So I mean, of course, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram has very, very large numbers. In some cases, the highest numbers anywhere in the world. But what's interesting to see is the number of Aadhaar and the Aadhaar authentications that have taken place. A fact that consumers are, comfortable transacting. UPI transactions in value has broken all records. It's $88 billion in the month of August, and that's expected to increase. That's a very, very large share. And overall digital transactions at about 45,000 million. So what's interesting to see is that the consumer is transacting across various elements. So be it healthcare, be it travel, be it financial, and of course shopping and social media. So that's a very, very strong enabler that's been set for the market. And so now let's see what are the key trends that we expect in 2021. So what we've tried to do is focus largely on immediate trends because that's what we are looking at just now. But these would, of course, have an impact over a longer term as well. And I'm at this moment purely giving an overview of all the trends because there will be um, that you would hear and discuss a lot of these trends and happenings over the next 2 days during the conference. So the current focus is just as an overview of the key trends. So customer is truly the king and queen, if I may say so, and that's the difference that has come in over the last few years, where it's the customer who's driving the entire business, and customer centricity has become absolutely key. So customer centricity has become more relevant and more beneficial than any brand legacy that might have been present. It's your connect with the consumer, understanding what is their journey, what are their aspirations, and being able to use technology for that. So, and that's the case over last 5 years, where an amazing amount of innovation has been done in terms of analytics or AI, or really understanding every aspect of the customer, and that's become very key. And but what I'd like to mention here is that while we might have an understanding of our current customer, but we must look at it from what has happened as an impact from COVID as well. So while we might understand consumer in various segments, we might understand their shopping behavior as much as we can from the analytics, but we need to understand that COVID has changed the Indian consumer, and it is a medium and a long-term impact that will be there. And so we'd like to reclassify the new consumer in the short term only by two areas. Is he or she thrifty by force, or he or she thinks thrifty is attractive? Thrifty by force is basically the largest share, is the largest market in India. Largely, people who've been impacted by jobs and income loss are facing varying levels of financial insecurity and debt stress, and we need to understand that that's a large share of Indian consumers at this moment. Simply because we're looking at short term, we're looking at 21 and 22. We need to understand how these consumers are behaving. There is a very high level of price sensitivity, and what do e-commerce players and retailers need to do to understand this phase of the consumer, and in terms of being able to address this requirement of the consumer. So, I mean, could it be private labels? Could it be smaller offering? Could it be pay-per-use? Looking at cheaper options through group buying or community purchases or deals, reaching out directly to consumer. E-commerce enables us to do all of these, but one needs to understand that the consumer is under pressure, and we need to react to that. On the other side is a small group in India, who's pretty financially secure, did not really, their incomes or monies did not really get impacted by what happened for COVID in the last 18 months, and could very well be flourishing. They could be investors in the stock market. They could have made a lot of money through, cryptocurrency, or otherwise also their businesses and incomes did not get impacted. That's a very small set in India, but then yes, that's the higher consuming set. And what is it that is important to them at this moment? It's a lot of self-preservation and self-discovery, something that's happened over 18 months, largely metropolitan focused, largely higher income groups. But yes, that's a consumer segment that we need to address and we need to understand. So health and fitness, organic foods, immunity boosters, um, a focus on sustainability, traceability, circular economy, all these elements which, are slowly coming into our basket. We need to understand, and all the retailers and e-commerce players and brands who are addressing this segment need to understand how different this segment is from the larger Indian segment. Understanding hobbies, experiences, and tangible value that they offer. Also, just want to keep in mind, value is all across all consumers, but value definition changes depending on which set you belong to. And we do think that we will not see very conspicuous luxury consumption over the next 12 months. But yes, we would see a lipstick effect where we would see smaller products which are, premium or luxury, are getting more attractive returns in the market. Also, we need to be aware, keeping in mind that we need to track the consumer closely. We need to understand how the consumption basket is changing. So, if you see over the last 20 years, the consumption basket has transformed quite a lot. A very small basket in pre 2000, 2020 had many new areas, which was movie theaters, toys and kids accessories, household help, a lot of spend on eating out. But going forward, what is it that would be exciting for the consumer? Be it alternative food, alternate meats, robotics, which sort of add on to the convenience in a consumer's life, OTT, which of course all of us are experiencing, adult gaming, EVs, in terms of looking at hobbies, outdoor sports. So one really needs to understand how how the basket is evolving and keep in, sort of basically work along with the consumer as he or she is changing. So how do we think it will impact for the next decade? We think value and availability will be more important than any brand loyalty or premiumization. So value, availability, convenience is key. Preventive health, of course, all the consumers across India would in some way or the other look at preventive health options. Circular economy, still, a smaller market segment, very chic, but we think it's going to grow substantially. Openness to trade asset ownership, which is something that we are seeing all across. There are many formats, many businesses which have come around that. That's going to gain credence. Seeking DIY, portable and bundle solutions, making sure that the cost to the consumer is less, and absorbing content in visual and miniature form. So just keeping that in mind when we are communicating with the consumer, be it marketing, be it talking about a product, about a service. Closely linked to that is experience. So while yes, brand does remain important, but what you offer as the experience to consumer, and especially in digital commerce, where experience is what you can define as experience is very limited vis-a-vis traditional shopping. So experience management becomes key, and that's something that each business needs to focus on. Especially, it is not something that is done on the side, but there needs to be a person or a team or a division which basically looks at experience and how they can understand what is experience for your product segment and then implement that. So if you're a food and grocery retailer, or if you're talking about basic products, then one is looking at convenience, one is looking at range, and the fact that it can reach to the doorstep easily. But if you're looking at fashion, if you're looking at lifestyle, then how does one experience it virtually? Augmented reality, virtual reality, having virtual trial rooms, looking at a lot of visual content, chatbots, so basically enhancing the experience in every way. Just a virtual trial app which allows you to look at sizing and see how well it could fit you. At least it really helps the consumer in understanding what the product could be. A third trend is basically looking at personalization, so much so that you're addressing a market of one consumer. And how is it that one could do that? Looking at a lot of tools, looking at a lot of data and technology to really segment consumers, macro segment them as much as possible, to connect with the consumer at an individual level, hyper personalization in the digital content that we create for them, to be able to understand what the consumer is looking at, and then being able to offer that and not making him or her wait to reach that product. Machine learning, social media, IoT, a lot of technologies that are coming in. Of course, not all of them can be deployed immediately, but over time one needs to really structure your company, structure your product mix, structure all your processes so that one can head really towards the market of one. One should be able to connect with each consumer. Something that Nike did, and I'll just show this very briefly, not the whole video, but the fact that in a store, Nike gives that option where you can actually customize one pair of shoes. Same thing can be translated in e-commerce as well. Just the fact that you can design one unique pair of shoes for yourself, which no one else has, is something that, of course, a lot of brands are trying to do, but it has, of course, its own complications in handling that entire business. But that's the way to look at it for the future. No, just a second. I think, just give me a second. I think I have stepped out of the presentation. Technical glitch. Anish, can you see the screen now?
Yes, I can.
Sure. Sorry about this. The next trend, basically, hyperlocal is something that has developed over the last 2 to 3 years, and it has been successfully executed now for by retailers, selling pharmacy products, selling food, even fashion or even sports and fitness. Decathlon also offers hyperlocal now, and this is something that we think will gain currency. Also makes it very efficient from a real estate perspective, which is really expensive, and also helps you manage your inventory better. Plus, it gives the convenience to the consumer of being able to reach out directly. So, creating dark stores, using chatbots and apps to be able to connect with the consumer. And while monitoring last year, we've seen that more than 20% sales of many of the retailers who've implemented hyperlocal have been from off-store direct sales. And this is something that retailers are looking at, both e-commerce as well as, so Amazon Pantry is a very good example of that. Increasing the next trend that we are seeing, that beyond metropolitan and tier 1 cities, e-commerce is now focusing on tier 2 and tier 3. These are all forms of e-commerce, so be it marketplaces, be it digital enabled assisted retail platforms, which are bringing on food and grocery and pharmacy stores onto the retail platform. Um, and we think this will strengthen further. Even the recent sales that have been initiated by the marketplaces, for either Big Billion or for looking at the Amazon sale, they're very clear indicators that tier 2 and tier 3, one, of course, are their focus areas and are gaining traction a lot, which is very encouraging for the e-commerce market simply because it's growing, expanding, where the product is the hero and not really, just focusing on product and making sure that it addresses the right consumer segment. Post-COVID, a lot of D2C companies have broken the 200 plus crores barrier, and which itself is the threshold for larger growth. What they are also doing is moving from digital only to becoming digital first, which is while they sell through a digital platform, they're also adding on the traditional retail formats, looking at modern retail formats, so adding a brick and mortar element to it, or direct sales. Also moving from a single product category to a platform. So it could have started from the D2C company would have started from beauty and wellness, but then looking at other lifestyle products being added to that. So really creating a platform around the brand. While the current focus is metros and tier 1, but we think um, tier 2 is something that D2C brands would start focusing on in a couple of years. Um, the next trend that we'd like to talk about is how technology has really helped in all aspects of retail and e-commerce ecosystem. And as e-commerce grows rapidly in the country across product segments, across geographies, this entire ecosystem is also growing a lot. So there are a large amount of investments taking place in delivery in terms of people, in terms of payment options, and looking at various kinds of technologies that can be available from a consumer experience perspective, so be it personalization or traceability or CRM or AR, or looking at the value chain part of it, which is ease of procurement, the B2B companies that have come in, ease of documentation, ease of billing for traditional retail, as well as last mile delivery and real time tracking for e-commerce business. This ecosystem is expected to grow a lot more and would get a lot of investment and funding as well as e-commerce becomes more interesting. So some segments of e-commerce which are still very young but are gaining traction. Um, so vernacular and voice-enabled UI for semi-urban and rural India. So there are many initiatives which have started, but these are still small and these would take time. But we think over the next 2 years, we would see rapid growth in these. Assisted commerce for rural India, a sort of an add-on from to the vernacular and voice-enabled UI. Social commerce, a lot of conversation around it, keeping in mind that a large part of target consumers are already on social media. And we would, while some companies have already initiated, in the next 2 years, we would see many more brands adopting this. B2B platforms, um, roughly about 3 to 4 billion dollars worth of business is already happening on B2B, but a huge opportunity ahead simply because it taps into the entire consumption available in the country. And we think this will grow exponentially over the next 5 years. International e-commerce, which is basically export of products, enabled by Amazon, a lot of other companies like Vinculum, just allowing Indian brands to address consumers all over the world. A huge opportunity, just started very small just now, but we think this will grow a lot in the future. All this is seeing a lot of interest from financial institutions, from PEs in terms of funding. Also, a lot of opportunities coming up for acquisition and acqui-hire, simply because a lot of innovative, fresh thinking and nimbleness coming into the new age businesses. And this will really help in growing the ecosystem. It's the right time for the interest from PEs as well as a lot of companies looking at IPOs in this year's IPO season. But we think this will really encourage the entire ecosystem. If you just see the graph here, the growth in D2C startup funding itself has grown 251% over the previous year, and that bodes well for the e-commerce business. So while a lot of positives for e-commerce, just one aspect which is creating issues, and especially for the larger companies, which is the regulatory and policy uncertainty, which does not allow most of the companies to really invest and grow the business the way they would like to. Simply because there is a lot of back and forth on policy and one doesn't know what might happen tomorrow. So, one is the policy part of it, the anti-competition issues that are happening just now for some of the larger players, mergers and acquisitions issues, discussions that are happening with some of the players. So once these get sorted out, hopefully in the near future, that will also help in growing the business further, especially for the larger groups who have entered the business. So just to sum up the 10 trends, a very, very strong focus on customer, a very strong focus on experience, and being able to personalize the content and personalize and reach a single consumer. When you're looking at geographies, hyperlocal response adds a lot to convenience for the post-COVID consumer. Most of the companies are focusing, larger firms, marketplaces, and larger businesses focusing on tier 2 and 3 cities to add on into the market. D2C, direct to consumer, coming of age, a lot of interesting companies growing and investments coming into this space. Technology helping the ecosystem, so a very large ecosystem coming up, which will help all the e-commerce companies add on capacities, add on features for their business. Some companies, some areas which are B2B, international e-commerce, addressing the Indian consumers in Bharat, which is largely rural and vernacular. That is young businesses, nascent businesses, but we think in the next 5 years would grow rapidly. Increased funding and An easing of regulations and policy would really help the entire ecosystem grow, be it Indian or international firms. Thank you.